Good morning, Abuja, coming to you from the Unity Station NTA Channel 5 Abuja. And yes, I have my second guest on the program, and together we'll still be talking about food security in the country. And I have with me Professor Peter Azikiwe Nwalu. He is the president, African University Science and Technology. And together we'll be talking about the issues of around food security in the country. You're welcome to Good Morning Abuja.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the program. Yes, sir. So before now, the first guest we had on the program talked about some of the issues we have, and then you are going to be telling us more about it. So can you provide examples of how biotechnology advancements such as genetically modified crops and gene editing are contributing to food security?
Oh, yes. Food security is about making sure that we're able to have enough food, not just for consumption, but also to be converted to industrial raw materials for processing, the agro-processing industries. Any country that is able to produce what it needs and even export, you can now say that that country is food secure. Yeah. But when you have a situation where maybe during the time of harvest there is enough food, and then during the dry season when you are not harvesting, things go very high and people are not able to buy food that are affordable, then there is insecurity. So, what causes this kind of thing? The truth of the matter is that the way nature is made, the soil, for us to produce food, we need the soil, we need air, we need water. But all these are not always there in sufficient quantities to be able to give you the kind of yield and harvest that you need to sustain an increasing population at all times. So, what happens then is that if you are supposed to maybe harvest, say, 200 kilograms per hectare of a particular product, if you are using natural means, you may find that you now need a large expanse of land to be able to produce enough to feed a large country like Nigeria. So what then happens is, in that small portion of land, say 1 hectare, instead of aiming to produce the 200 kilograms or whatever quantity you produce, you harvest using natural means, then we use technology to improve. So instead of harvesting 200, you may be able to harvest 300, 400, 500. And these technologies that can help you to maximize and improve on the yield can come in different forms. You can decide to use mechanization, so you cultivate very fast. You can also decide to use fertilizer. You can decide to use more water to give the crop enough water. You can nutrients and so on. But beyond all these, what you may call classical ways of improving yields, you can also look at the crop itself. And that's where you now talk about genetically modified. These crops, how do we even plant them? After harvest, you preserve some. Then the next season, you will now plant them again. But what scientists have done in the past is to now look at the crops and see how we can double their yield in the lab. In other words, you can now, well, I don't want to use the word tamper, but modify. I don't want to say tamper, but you can now modify the planting material, either the seed or the stem, at the cell level. These are at levels you cannot even see, to look at the rudiment, what those molecules that make up the crop, and then modify them in a number of ways depending on what you are looking for. If you want crop that will mature faster, in other words, if it's where you have a climate change, flooding coming, so instead of the crop growing for 6 months before maturity, you can have early maturing. So it will mature in half, the normal time. That's, you can, there are scientific ways of modifying this crop So that when you plant it,
sorry to cut you. I see like maize.
Yes.
Instead of it growing just like one this thing, you have the one that has like 3, 4.
Thank you. So instead of 1 cup, you have 5 cups. So you want that resource you put in growing 1 stand of maize, you now have 5 cups of maize instead of 1. And that will now translate to having, instead of 200 kilograms per hectare, you can now have 500 or 600. Now, there are several things that people have come up with. Take orange, for example. The normal orange, we normally have seed in it, some fiber and so on. Maybe the water, the liquid in it may not be what you want. It may not be enough. Now, you can genetically manipulate the fruits, the maize, the planting seed itself, so that when you plant it, you can now have orange that has no seed. So everything is just, and then the quantity of food it needs will now double or triple. So if you're now going to use this to make fruit juice, you maximize the profit.
Okay, so those kind of crops, do we still, is it advisable to still take it without fear? Because most people feel these crops are actually tampered, modified, are actually like not natural and should not actually be patronized, kind of.
Yes, we know that when we begin to tamper or modify nature, it may lead to problems. Not always, that's why I say may. Now, governments all over the world have realized this, and what they have done is to use regulatory agencies. In Nigeria, we have one regulatory agency that looks at this. We have a National Biotechnology Agency. They look into what the scientists are doing, and that's why even for your lab, we don't just do the gene manipulation or whatever you want to do and start taking it into the field. No. When you do it, the regulatory agencies will check your procedures. Then they will also look at sustainability, because the thing may give you yield today, very good yield today. Tomorrow, the thing will not even germinate again. And then it may also even lead to unintended consequences, such as harming the human body when you consume that.
Okay, I was going to ask you that, how healthy are these modified crops for human consumption?
Yes, when these things are not controlled, they can be unhealthy. But the truth of the matter is that governments all over the world have regulatory agencies that make sure that they look at the procedures and the process the scientists are using. So you are not allowed to do something that will create problem in future.
Health-wise,
so health-wise, yes. You don't want something that when you consume it, maybe it will lead to cancer, or it may lead to maybe a human being growing out of proportion. So that regulatory function is very key. It's important. Also, scientists are also trained about ethics. If you know those things, that when you put it in the way you are modifying, it will lead to problems. Ethically, you are not allowed to do that. But in addition to ethics, which is more like self-control or self-regulation, regulatory agencies also go through all this and give you approval. So when you know, if it's seed, for example, the regulatory agencies, apart from those who will monitor what you have done, it has to go to an organization such as National Seed Council, which will approve that this is now safe, and they put a stamp on it. So if you are going to consume any product that is genetically modified, it is important that you make sure that it is approved by the regulatory bodies. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, you know how it is. Anything goes. If it's in other clients where things are done normally, the product is stamped. If it's genetically modified, it is stamped that it is safe from the regulatory agency. Unfortunately, in our country, we are still trying to make sure that we get this, so that when we are buying, there is also the issue of labeling. So this one is genetically modified, this one is not. So by choice, you can decide to take the one that is genetically modified. In addition, the stamp of the regulatory body will ensure that will certify you that this thing is safe. So these are regulations that have to be put in place, and we have done that. The only problem in our country is that sometimes traceability is a problem. In food. As I was coming this morning, I had to stop at the traffic light when there was red, and then people were rushing to the car to sell one product or the other. Now, under such a circumstance, you cannot regulate. But if I have to go to the market, if I have to go to ShopRite or any of these places you can buy food or farmers market. And if I have any issues later, I can trace where I bought that product.
So we know that African University of Science and Technology is running a diploma in food security in collaboration with African Food Security. Can you tell us more? Food Security Academy.
Yes.
Tell us more about.
Yes, this is one of the efforts we are making to make sure that we achieve food security in Nigeria.
Okay.
The Food Security Academy is an organization, an NGO, that is training young people. They have a target of training thousands of young people in all areas of food, following the entire value chain, from planting to harvesting to post-harvest to processing, processing the food products into different. So we have millions of youths looking for what to do. So they want to give them that skill to be able to either plant, grow crops, process them, market them. It's a whole value chain that people can specialize in. So, but they don't have the capacity to make sure that what they are teaching can be certified. For us, being a training institution, we decided to partner with them. So what we are doing with them is to make sure we go through their curriculum. We give them the kind of where they don't have capacity in terms of lecturers. They actually have, but where they don't have, we supplement from our own professors. But more importantly, they have the practical skills. Remember, we are a university, we are more on the theoretical side, but they have the practical field experience. So it's a situation where the institution, our own university, is partnering with the academy so that the young ones we are training get the best. They get the best in the area of the theoretical side and get the best from the academic practical side. And this thing is 60% practical. In other words, when they come out, they are already starting their business. We have embedded in this program entrepreneurship, so that when you learn the skills for processing something or for storing it or for business, you also have the entrepreneurial skills to be able to understand the opportunities in business in the agri-food sector. So these young ones, whether they are graduates or they didn't even go to school at all, when they go through this diploma program, it's a blend of academic and practical side, and they are ready to hit the road running, starting their own businesses, adding to the system to make sure that they are no longer looking for white-collar jobs, but to be able to add value to our food security system.
Thank you for coming on the program. So I wish you could go on and on because you have so much to offer. Professor is always a professor, so we'll call you some other time to come and still give us more tips on food security. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So we've been speaking with Professor Peter Azikiwe Unwaolu, and we together have been talking about the issues around food security, and he has told us a whole lot. We'll go on a short break, and after that, the program continues.